The name Philip Yancey is synonymous with grace. For 40 years, his books have been the bedrock of modern evangelical thought. Titles like What's So Amazing About Grace didn't just sit on shelves, they reshaped the way millions of people viewed their relationship with the divine. He was the thinking man's Christian, the journalist of the soul who tackled doubt, pain, and the messy reality of faith with unparalleled nuance. But today, that pillar of faith has suffered a catastrophic collapse. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the global publishing world and the pews of every megachurch in America, Yancey has stepped into the light, not to preach, but to confess. An 8-year secret, a double life hidden behind the prose of a spiritual giant. This isn't just a story about a mistake, it's the unraveling of a legacy. This is the Philip Yancey scandal. To understand why this confession is so devastating, we have to understand the weight Philip Yancey carried in the religious landscape. Emerging in the late 70s, Yancey became the voice for those who felt alienated by the legalism of the church. He sold over 15 million books. He was the editor-at-large for Christianity Today. He was the man who made it okay to ask hard questions about God. For many, Yancey was the last safe intellectual in a polarized religious landscape. He wasn't a fire and brimstone preacher on a stage, he was the quiet, reflective writer in the Colorado mountains. He wasn't just an author, he was a moral compass for the disillusioned. When he spoke, the evangelical world listened, because they believed he was the most honest man in the room. The news broke late Tuesday evening via a prepared statement released on Yancey's official website. The wording was clinical, yet emotionally gut-wrenching. In the statement, Yancey admitted to what he called a long-term extramarital relationship that spanned the course of 8 years. He cited a profound personal failure and a gradual disconnection from the very truths he spent a lifetime documenting. The confession stated that the affair ended recently after being discovered by a close family member. The timing is particularly jarring. Yancey had just finished a high-profile tour for his memoir, Where the Light Fell, a book that meticulously explored his traumatic childhood and his search for spiritual healing. To find out that while he was promoting a book about his past, he was hiding a massive secret in his present has left fans feeling betrayed. Our investigation into the timeline suggests a pattern that many missed. Insider sources close to the Yancey camp suggest the relationship began during an extensive research trip to Europe nearly a decade ago. We looked back at his travel logs and speaking engagements. Between 2016 and 2023, Yancey frequently posted about solitary writing retreats in remote locations. Now, those posts take on a much darker hue. Neighbors in his small Colorado community, speaking on the condition of anonymity, described a man who had become increasingly reclusive over the last several years. One former associate told us he was preaching one thing and living another. The weight of the lie was visible if you knew where to look. He seemed exhausted, not by work, but by the duality of his life. The reaction has been a firestorm. Christian publishing houses, including Zondervan, are reporting in emergency meetings, with some sources claiming they are already scrubbing his name from upcoming promotional cycles and reconsidering backlist distributions. On social media, the hashtag Yancey scandal has become a battlefield. One side expresses pure heartbreak, with readers sharing photos of their highlighted Yancey books being thrown away. The other side is locked in a fierce theological debate. Can the message be separated from the messenger? If Yancey's entire career was built on the idea that we are all broken and in need of grace, does this scandal actually prove his point, or does it disqualify his voice entirely? One prominent theologian tweeted, "The loss of Philip's moral authority is a blow to the intellectual tradition of the modern church. It leaves a void that may never be filled." In his most famous work, Yancey wrote that grace means there is nothing we can do to make God love us more, and nothing we can do to make God love us less. He is now living out the most extreme test of his own theology.
As the dust settles, the Christian world is left to grapple with a familiar, painful reality. Our icons are human, and the pedestals we build for them are often too high to survive a fall. Whether Philip Yancey can ever return to the public eye is uncertain. What is certain is that the light he wrote about has finally exposed a shadow longer than anyone could have imagined. The question remains, when a man who taught the world about grace falls this hard, is there enough grace left for him? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is the work still valid, or is the legacy gone? Thanks for watching Fame Fallout.